What's going on, guys? So here is a video on large format print issues. So this is going to go over a couple of things that I ran into as a problem, a job that I've essentially printed and now we have to reprint. And essentially this is an R&D experience, and you know, me, the client who ordered the parts, as well as you, are all on a learning trip and experience by doing this. So this is two large format prints printed in one single piece there. It's about 600 millimeters long, and what we did is we channeled it so that it was just hollow all the way through. If you saw my previous video, you saw half of this with some infill on the inside, and what happened here is we experimented with expanding foam, high density expanding foam. So this isn't your house attic insulation expanding foam. This is a very, very dense, hard like a rock. I mean, like I can barely make a dent like stabbing this, and it would be even harder the deeper you go. So this made it, I mean, just really thick. I mean, this sounds like I'm tapping on a piece of wood just practically. But the issue is because there wasn't any infill or anything to kind of hold this shape together, this expanding foam actually got quite hot. Probably easily up to 100 C, because that's what it felt like, at least 80 C. Which is just about hot enough that as it's expanding in certain areas, and depending on how we poured it and where it was expanding, it actually bulged out our side here. So it's visually, I mean, I can see it. You can clearly see a real nice big bulge there. I don't need to get a tape measure or anything out. But yeah, that totally ended up trashing this part, which, you know, stinks as far as cost and time goes. But it's understandable because it's kind of an R&D thing. One other thing I wanted to talk about was some of the printing of it itself. So beyond just that we channeled it and decided to backfill it, and that caused an issue, you know, that we could talk about other materials we could have used to have done that. Part of the issue itself was that in this particular printer, and we'll go look at it shortly, it kind of bowed this part. And we can show, yeah, we'll show on this one and on the other one. So we clamped it to a piece of wood, and we can see just how much it's actually out. And another thing you can kind of notice is here on the bottom edge, just kind of how smooth and tight some of those lines are. And the higher and higher we get, we start to notice more and more of a wobbly nature. I generally call this effect the skyscraper effect. I think that's similar to it, to where the nozzle itself running along the line moves the part a little bit. And, you know, the taller it gets, the easier it is for it to sway. And then that sway, as it's putting down material, gives you this bad wobbling effect. So if you're needing a high precision large part, it can make it really hard to make, because you're probably going to wind up getting bowing. So here we literally have it strapped at the bottom and even clamped at the top to hold this together, because it kind of did this like in and out, or actually out and in thing. So you've got to kind of watch it, and that'll be dependent on the shape, it'll be dependent on the printer, your flow settings and everything. But I mean, just look at that wall line. Like, that wall line gets just a little bit messy, and with what we're doing here, we have quite a bit more tolerance than other jobs. You know, this isn't an aerospace job, it's a subwoofer job. So we can kind of fill the gaps with some heavy construction glue and whatnot, and sand a little bit of the wood if we had to. But you know, that's not ideal in all cases. So we can see on the top here again, we have some heavy banding. Not too much of a big deal for what we're using it for here, but not ideal, and not what we want in the long run. So I'll show you what printer this came off of. This came off of this Mingda Glitar C6. I got this printer in trade about 5-6 years ago. It's probably a 7 or more year old printer. When I got it, it needed a little bit of work, but it wasn't too bad. It was in working order, but the extruder was kind of lame, so I switched it out to a what is this? BMG Dual Gear, well, a clone of the Dual Gear. I designed and made this little cooler for it. I have had to change the hot end and stuff out. I also added heat sinks and a fan to that back there. And we can see it's a tall printer. It goes down here, down to 600. It's also noisy, so I added a ton of sound deadening to it, which actually helped quite a bit. But there's sound deadening all on the inside and on the back side of it, and that really helps with the meh, 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 meh that it makes. But you know, I'm not even sure what the issue is, because the y-axis is one motor with a rod to both sides, and it moves back and forth, and it moves so freely, and this is a really nice movement. Same right here. This is one of the freest moving printers. It sits on 3 linear rails right there, and then we've got, you know, 4 stabilizing bars and 2 ball screws, and these are powered by a single motor that's all belted together. So it kind of gets me that it's actually having an issue and printing like that. So I can only imagine that it's partially because of just big printers. I mean, maybe there's some mechanical something in here that this isn't just perfectly stable, but I'm gonna do what I can to figure this out. But part of my goal with this specific part is we're printing it now off of this printer, and we're gonna print it in 2 halves and glue the 2 halves, or backfill them, then glue them together. So that'll be what we wind up doing from here forward. And with 2 print heads, that's the other printer down there, we'll be able to get this knocked out in about 12 hours rather than 24 hours, so we can get the replacement parts. But I mean, I don't see like the bed wobbling or anything. It's, you know, it's very hard to tell where the mistakes are coming from for me. So what I'm essentially, the lesson here is that like large format printers and prints are going to have unique issues that you don't have with smaller printers. You know, if we were just printing this 4 inches high, 6 inches high, we wouldn't have any of that bowing issue. It wasn't literally till about 1 foot that it starts having the issue. So just be ready that when you have larger printers and larger prints to do, you're gonna have to overcome some unique steps, some unique profile changes, you know, some unique working around with things. Even my big boy over here, when I print, where are they at? I'm printing these drawer dividers, and luckily it's just a drawer divider for a for like a unique shaped cabinet, a historical kind of cabinet, or drawer, file divider. Those are actually coming out a little bit warped, like the heat just kind of warps it one way, kind of bows it, you know. And if I put some heat into it, it'll go back. It's just PLA. But yeah, you know, there are unique challenges, and even the heat that it produces had me kind of do a HA cover for it to just kind of keep the heat in a little bit more, to try to keep it cool in my shop. Eventually I want to do a really nice pretty one to this one, but I've already got a new one ordered that should be in any day. So as soon as I get my next biggest printer from my engineer, we'll be talking about that one and what makes it awesome. But yeah, I just want to discuss a couple of those backfills. If you have any ideas for materials that would probably better fill this without getting super hot, that would come out strong, that would be economical, please comment down below. We would love some advice on what might be a good backfilling thing. Right now we're going to try this liquid glass resin. It's got like an 8-minute thing. It'll pour in about 2 to 4 inches at a time, is what it's saying. So we'll see how that winds up working for these next ones that we're printing. But I've got high hopes to it. It should be pretty cool, the neat things that we're doing here with this. So I can't wait to show off the finished product, because it's going to be a really cool build. But I wanted to show some of the kind of issues that we're having to overcome, and maybe it will help you overcome some of your issues, or not even have them in the future. So thanks guys. Like, share, subscribe. If you like the large format stuff, please comment below. Let me know you know, what you think. If you want me to do a specific video, let me know what you would like us to do, and I would be happy to make a video for that. Coming up next should be flexible PLA versus TPU. I'm going to start that up here shortly, and we will load that as our next video for today. Thanks guys, have a good one.